I'm out of storage. Oh, wait, no. Oh.
He said
we are live. Yes.
What the fuck?
I didn't even mean to hit go live. I thought I had to free up more storage, but we are here. You guys are the best Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. So before we get into some Serie A, and I do want to talk some Champions League because we had some interesting results from a couple of Italian sides today, and Juve losing 4-0 at Chelsea is a good lead-in. Jerry, you tweeted something critical of Weston McKennie, who just made a hellacious error on that fourth Chelsea goal. Just no effort whatsoever on that play. You tweeted about it, and suddenly, Jerry, who is Canadian, mind you, you hate America now because you tweeted something critical. I'm not even going to say mean spirit. You tweeted something critical of Weston McKennie's effort on that play that led to the fourth Chelsea goal, and you are getting attacked by the Stars and Stripes. America has declared war on Canada. America is going after Jerry Mancini. Jerry, what happened? Would you like to defend yourself?
Well, I'll call myself out on the last part. I had no idea the goal differential was head to head. Now, I thought that it was based on the group itself. So I kind of thought of it as the World Cup, basically, where goal differential, who has a better difference, and that's it. I didn't know it was head to head, but I called him out for a goal that I thought that was pretty bad. Just looked like it was a lazy play, and
it was very lazy, like that play. And you weren't commenting on 90 minutes; you were commenting on that play.
Exactly, and I don't understand how I become impartial and I'm a bad guy all of a sudden because I kind of call out Weston McKennie. Like it's like a full attack on me, and it's like, okay, relax. It's an individual play I'm calling out on. I didn't say the guy had a bad game. I didn't say he was terrible. Like it's no. I don't want to say this the wrong way. It's so many Americans just become so defensive, and it's not. I guarantee if he had a bad game, they still say he had a good game. So it doesn't really matter.
Or they would just keep their mouth shut.
Yeah, like it's so annoying because it's not like I'm calling him out for having a bad performance. That's not what I'm saying. And I love the fact that, they were already down 3-0. It didn't really matter. At that time, he was tired. He was gassed. Okay, let's look at – hold on. That's the stupidest take I'm going to say right now because let's just say the game was 0-0. What's the difference? Oh, so he's tired. You can just allow that. 0-0, who cares? We lost the game 1-0. He's tired. What are you going to do? Just pack it up. No, man. At the end of the day, he started off very well, but as the game progressed, he kind of dipped off. That's it. Like, don't think he was amazing for 90 minutes and all doom and gloomy. And I hate how he had to pick up their sorry asses. What the heck is that, man? All of a sudden, McKennie has a good game, and all of a sudden he's picking up their asses. The guy has been very MIA for a lot of the season. So who's been picking up his ass for a lot of the season? All right. So I hate, if anything, it's Manuel Locatelli who kind of is the bulk of that midfield, right? Like,
yeah, he's been the best overall performer there for most of the season.
If anything, he picks up their asses. But
Here is the man. And Stephen K. Moore from the Laziali joins us. Stephen, just to get you caught up, well, we just went live a couple minutes ago, but Jerry was explaining himself because the United States of America has declared war on Jerry Mancini because Jerry, he tweeted something critical of a lazy-ass effort by Weston McKennie on Chelsea's fourth goal. Jerry had the audacity to tweet about it, and there are like nukes flying north of the border right now. Like America is going after Jerry. You are a fellow Canadian of Jerry, so hopefully you can have your guys back here.
Yes, no, absolutely. We're all here to support Jerry, right?
That's what it's all about. And Richard Carmen says Jerry hates American Thanksgiving. Even I mean, you guys from Canada, you celebrate in October. We celebrate real Thanksgiving down here.
I don't know about that. I think ours is a little bit better. I was confused. Everyone's saying they're preparing for Thanksgiving, and I was like, that happened a month ago. But
I love it. I love American Thanksgiving. It's the best.
Do you celebrate it, Jerry?
Yeah, I normally take off every American Thanksgiving. I sit on my ass and I watch all 3 football games.
Wow.
Until I started watching football again, European football. So that kind of replaced it. So I'll be watching the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday. That's for sure. 4:30, I'll be parked, and if I could, I would have some ham, not turkey.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of turkey either. I think we're going to jump around a lot on this episode. I want to circle back to Champions League. Atalanta had a shocking 3-3 draw with Young Boys, and Juventus 4-0 loss at Chelsea. I think that result speaks for itself. But my guy Lord Figo is in the chat. True Inter legend Lord Figo. He hashtag Forza Inter, my Scudetto. Napoli and Milan are on borrowed time. Now, I will say, guys, and Steven, I want you to weigh in on this, and then Jerry. Obviously, I'm repping Inter today, of course, and I wasn't really too optimistic heading into that match against Napoli because not only do I have a lot of respect for Napoli, and I still do because they nearly tied that game up. I mean, those couple of crazy chances they had there late, but I do respect Napoli. They've got an excellent attack, and they'd only given up 4 goals all season long heading into that game. But then the other thing was I wasn't overly bullish on Inter because even though at the end of the day it only ended up being De Vrij missing the game, the squad had multiple players who were far from fit. I mean, Edin Dzeko wasn't fit enough to go from the start. Barella is exhausted. There were questions about Bastoni heading into the match. So there were a number of different issues with fitness and health. And so I was thinking kind of a draw would be the best result. But Figo hit the nail on the head. I mean, with Inter taking 3 points from Napoli and Fiorentina helping everybody out and taking 3 points from Milan, is it fair to say at the very least it's a 3-horse race for the Scudetto, Steven? And I say at the very least because I had a conversation with David Amoyal yesterday, and he said, I'm not completely ruling out Atalanta. Like, they're a little bit farther from the pack than Inter, but this could be, at least a 3-horse race, if not a 4-horse race.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of agree with what you're saying there. Like at the beginning of the season, I was very bullish on both the Milanese clubs. I thought that both Inter and Milan, despite all the changes that kind of happened, I thought that Pioli, obviously, we've seen him kind of struggle when he stays at a club for a longer period of time, like a Lazio, for example. But I thought that Milan was going to have a very good season. Same thing with Inter. A lot of people kind of counted Atalanta out, but the main thing that I kind of looked into a little bit further was the fact that there's so many changes at Roma and Lazio who are going to be challenging with Atalanta to kind of make that 4th position, if not higher, that they were still going to kind of be in that spot. So despite kind of having that slow start, they're 25 points, only 3 points back off of Inter, and then obviously Napoli and Milan are up there at the top of 32, but they're definitely still in this race as well. And I think obviously Roma and Lazio not the most consistent right now, but they can also be argued like top 4 is going to be their goal as well, right? So yeah, it's going to be another one of those crazy years. I think the way it's lining up right now, though, with Napoli, Milan, and Inter, I think those are kind of be those top 3 spots, and then we'll see what happens later on. Maybe Juventus will start to make that redemption run. Who knows, right? You can't really count them out until the end of the season.
Juventus can only go up from here after today's result. It's hard to get much worse than that. So,
we were all banking on them to lose. At least Laziali were banking on them to lose today. I know Manona was watching the game today, and I kept hearing the yeah every time a goal went in. So,
and Jerry, I love Jerry. He's repping Chelsea, of course. Now, Jerry, Chelsea are his second club, but it's an epic troll job to wear that tonight, Jerry.
Oh yeah,
well done.
It's Lazio first for me, but Chelsea second, and
I thought Inter was second. Thought it was Inter second.
No.
Inter's first. No. He keeps it a secret.
Sorry, yeah, my bad.
No. Chelsea, Inter's that's the past. That's more my father, if anything. It's more to rep my father and just I guess like. I support my dad sometimes, but other than that, I have no business with Inter. if anything, I'll be honest. It's just I find that interacting with Inter fans on Twitter, it can be really civilized for most of the time. Honestly, like a lot of Inter fans are very respectful to me, and vice versa. And I find that the history it really plays a part in that. There's a lot of Inter fans who do believe in the whole like relationship and being supportive of of one another. So that's the reason why that I'm always supportive of Inter fans. But if I had to choose between the two, it's obviously Lazio, and that's it. Like that's there's no ifs, ands, and buts. Like if it was any other reason, like sure, Inter can win a Scudetto over Juventus, absolutely, or anybody else. I can care less, right? But for the most part, yeah. As for Chelsea, man, what a beatdown! Like Juventus were. I'll say it. I thought that the Cataldi foul was right at first, at hindsight, and I tweeted that out. But Stephen Moore like basically hit it on the nail. Where it's. I think that you mentioned this. It was not a foul. Like, and I agree. Like I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but I know.
No, I don't think I looked at it a lot, and a lot of people like when Donno had said, you know what, he touched the ball, and either way, let's just say he touches it by the slightest amount, because that was maybe all that it was. It was still a matter of the fact that he impeded Morata from getting the ball, even though Morata took a nice full-on dive, and although Cataldi brought his legs back in as soon as he kind of made contact with him. Unfortunately, like that's the way the rules are, and like it was kind of it's one of those soft penalties where it's like, you know what, I look at it as if Lazio was on the other end of it, would we be upset that it wasn't called? And you kind of go both ways and go, it's a matter of who the referee was. But it wasn't more so just that foul in that game. It was the numerous calls that went against us. Like the Locatelli challenge, I tweeted it out. I don't know. For me, that's a two-studded challenge. His feet are both in the air. That came in. He touched the ball first 100%, but he went through Cataldi, and that wasn't even blown for a foul. And like there was just continuous calls like that throughout the game, whereby it was like, why is everything going in Juve's favor? And it was funny because I don't know who kept tweeting it. I think it was Nima, Juve tax. I kept seeing that before the game, and then obviously we see the bellow take full effect. So that was more so where I was kind of, you know, that was a little bit shaky. But overall, you know, Lazio didn't deserve the points. I thought it was going to end in a tie. I thought that's what it was going to look like. I didn't really see either team coming on too strong. Obviously, Juve's been really inconsistent. Lazio is without key players. Immobile is always a challenge. We've seen the record. I think without him, I think it's like only I can't remember the exact numbers. I think it's like 15 Serie A games. I think we've only won like 4 or 5 of them or something like that when he's absent. So obviously really difficult when he's gone. So either way, I'm not going to sit here and say, you know what, Locatelli should have been a red card or that penalty shouldn't have happened. End of the day, we had one shot on goal. So
yeah,
we're not going to do anything from that. So it doesn't really matter at that point, right? So,
but as for this Chelsea game, like if Juventus decides to play defensive mode for 90 minutes every game, they are dust.
Yeah.
Like
especially in Europe. I mean, you can get away with that in Italy sometimes, even still. Not as much as you could have. And it's funny because I think Allegri, who he had been 2 seasons on hiatus, he had even made some comments like after the Empoli game this year where Serie A has changed even over the last few years because, like opposing teams used to just sit back like smaller clubs, and now they're actually attacking. And then you find that the bigger clubs, you need to focus more on attacking and not as much catenaccio. So even in the matter of like 3 years, the Serie A has just become more attacking and more exciting than it used to be.
I don't know, man. I just don't like this. Like if we had Immobile on Saturday, I'm so confident that we win that game. Like I'm more than ever confident. We'll talk about the game after, but where you see Chelsea has 4 predominant strikers. I was talking on the phone with Joe Fischetti about this, and I said the difference was that Lazio didn't have a plan B behind Immobile, whereas Chelsea has a plan B, C, and D behind Romelu Lukaku. So Chelsea now Juventus has this problem where they need to figure out, okay, Christian Pulisic is starting today. If Pulisic comes off the bench, we got to worry about Timo Werner. And if it's not Timo Werner, it's Lukaku. And if it's not Lukaku, it's somebody else. And that's where the trouble begins, where there's a lot of weapons. You know what I mean? There's a lot of options to make this team better. And then you got a midfield of Jorginho, N'Golo Kante, hold on, Conte gets hurt today. Well, guess who comes in? The guy who should be on goddamn Lazio, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, okay? This is the guy that Lazio here's the difference between Sarri and Inzaghi. The fact that when Sarri wants a player, I find that there's a better purpose as to why he wants it. There's a reason. Whereas Simone Inzaghi's players that he's always wanted, as much as we rip on Tare, Inzaghi's no better because he's gotten the players he's wanted, and we're stuck with them. Mohamed Fadez, Exhibit A. What's he done for Lazio? Like, I don't remember the last player that we got that he wanted that has really panned out. You know what I mean?
Was he responsible for Murici?
No, that's
our sporting director.
I won't put that on him. But the point is,
I know.
The point is Chelsea's so deep and had it. I know that Juventus have players out, but had they just tried to take the game to Chelsea a bit, it could have disrupted them. Like you can't play like that, and I think Chelsea is going to go far in the Champions League. That team is really well rounded, and I don't know why they bought Lukaku in the first place. This is a team. I guess he's helped them win a few games this year, so I can't say he's been bad or anything.
He's not having a great year though. He's really not.
No,
he's not.
It was like a vanity signing. I mean, maybe they overestimated how much they needed him, even though they just won the Champions League last year without him. So maybe they overestimated how much they needed him, but also, Chelsea has a ton of money, and Lukaku's stock was really high after this season he had last year with Inter. And so sometimes like big, rich ass clubs, because you see PSG do signings like this all the time. You're just like, you know what? This guy's really hot right now. He can't hurt. He can help us. So, 100, 110, 120, whatever it was, million euros isn't really that much for us. Let's just do it.
I get it.
No, like you said, like Chelsea's got a lot of money. So end of the day, I think it was more so kind of that he's always said he wanted to go back home sort of thing, right? Obviously, I don't know why they let him leave in the first place, but with the money that Inter got, end of the day, like I was one of those guys who said, if you're being offered that much money for that player, you know what? You're going to take that and you can rebuild the whole team with that money. Like if Lazio were to sell a player for that much, it was
partly that because obviously they needed the money because of the situation with ownership, but then also like I came to find out more about this later on, like through his agent Pastorello revealed a lot of this, that I think that at the time when they were talking about making this deal, I think that a lot of us kind of underestimated how much he really wanted to go to Chelsea, because when the move was happening, it felt kind of like Inter were forcing him out, but then it became clearer as time went by that he forced his own way out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you look at things as well, like Chelsea just won the Champions League. Obviously, they're as much as we hate to say it, he's going to make more money, and they're a bigger club right now in general than Inter and Milan, who struggled over recent years, right? So you want to go to one of the bigger sides like Real Madrid, the Barcelonas, even though they're kind of struggling right now, but one of those bigger teams with I feel like more success in recent years in the Italian sides. And that's where obviously we saw a bunch of players coming over, and that's where you kind of saw, okay, maybe the revamp of Serie with Ronaldo coming over. We had Lukaku come, but then all those players are slowly starting to drift away again. It's kind of like most players are not really wanting to come back to Italy anymore. So I think it's more like the Premier League kind of aspect of things right now. So I think that probably played a little bit of a part too with him leaving the summer.
So I wanted to ask you guys something from, the fallout of Inter's win over Napoli. And I thought Napoli played really well, and they should have tied the game up, quite frankly, with those chances that they had late in the match. Certainly, I'll take the 3 points for Inter. I make no apologies for it. Inter played well for most of that match, but the fallout was bigger even than 3 points lost for Napoli, because the Victor Osimhen injury was, I think, more serious when the test results came in than a lot of people expected. He and Milan Skriniar went up for a header, and it was incidental contact. It wasn't really the fault of either guy, but Osimhen, his face just collided with that hard head of Milan Skriniar. I don't know what this guy is, a cinder block for a skull, apparently, because Osimhen suffers several fractures in the orbital and in the cheekbones, and he's going to be out maybe for 90 days, a timetable along those lines. And guys, that's a big loss. Now, Napoli do have, Mertens, who's still very dangerous. We'll see how much Petagna can do over this time. So they do have some depth. They do have some options there. But Osimhen, to this point, best number 9 in Serie A. And this is going to be a big loss for Napoli, right? And Anguissa's got a little bit of an injury situation as well. What do you got, Jerry?
He's not the best number 9 in Serie A.
Cheeto?
Yes.
My bad. Best form.
Cheeto Immobile.
Can you give me that? Well, actually, no, because you got a couple Canoniere. All right. Fair enough.
Cheeto's got like 10 goals in 11 matches. Like how
all right. Second best number 9.
Not you, but I see it all over Twitter. It's like, best strikers in Serie A. Dusan Vlahovic. And we got Victor Osimhen. And they're good players. Don't get me wrong. They're very good players.
You can't forget about Tammy Abraham too, eh?
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
One of the best 9s in Serie A.
There's a reason why he doesn't play for Chelsea anymore. Okay. Anyways. Yeah. But my point is,
so I see your point, but how big of a lot? Because Napoli, they're on top of the table still. They do have a tough stretch of games coming up. Okay.
Against
how big
Lazio
is this loss going to be for them?
You want to go first, Steve? You can go first.
No, I think I was just going to say, like, they face Lazio next. Obviously, they have the Europa League tomorrow against, I think, Spartak, if I'm not mistaken, away. But obviously, they face Lazio next match. So for us, it's better. But in general, obviously, them being without their big striker, obviously, is gonna be a blow for them. Obviously, they have Mertens, but he's a different kind of striker. I think that Osimhen's really fit in with Spalletti this year, and I think he's done pretty good. Obviously, one of the better guys that you can say right now in form, best number 9 in Serie A right now. I think that's always going to be a debate with us, especially because Immobile is still playing and still scoring.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely going to be a big blow for them. I think the reports saying that he's going to be out for 3 months. That means he's going to miss the Africa Cup of Nations as well, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be coming up soon too. So he's going to be out with Nigeria. He's not going to be able to attend that either, which is, you know what? It's a pretty shitty injury. To put it this way, obviously it's your face. So you maybe if you wear the mask, you can come back a little bit sooner. But it's not like one of those things where he's pulled a muscle, for example, and like he really can't play. Like he can still run right now. He can still shoot. He can still do all that stuff, but he can't. Obviously, with his face, can't play in the game. So it's kind of be a pretty shaky injury, I guess, for the time being. But yeah, overall, big blow for Napoli.
I think that we still got to be worried about Napoli because they have a quality second striker that they can put in as Dries Mertens. That's what scares me, is that I think that Dries Mertens can be a better striker at the moment than Victor Osimhen on his best days. You know what I mean? Like he kind of scares me a bit more sometimes, Mertens, because the way he plays and how he can just play in various roles. He's a free roamer, right? So he's the kind of guy I wish we had on Saturday who could play that false 9. He's the perfect guy that Lazio needed on Saturday for that specific game. You throw him in, say, hey, can you play false 9 for Lazio? That's what we were missing. Like, that's the guy. But Mertens scares me more than Petagna.
Yes.
I don't want to discredit Petagna because he can be a game changer as well on his good days. Like
he's capable of like scoring big goals against the run of play. Like he's the type of striker where he just won't be doing shit and then suddenly he scores.
Yeah, I don't want to take up Petagna, but what I fear about Victor Osimhen is he may not even play this season again. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like the way it sounded, his injury today, and like how like he had to put like 12 screws apparently in his face or something, or he has like a metal plate in his face or something. Don't quote me on that, but along those lines, like they had to do a lot of like reconstruction on his face. Yeah. I agree that he can run, he can walk, he can stay in fit. His whole body's still functioning. It's the mental part of his game now that I'm kind of concerned, because it's the second concussion he's got in the last season. In the last year, he got another bad one. He missed a lot of time due to a concussion. I think it was last season.
And he was off for a little bit last year too, if I'm not mistaken, for a long time.
Yeah,
and you got to think that a guy like that is not going to go in like that anymore. And is he scared to make those challenges now? Does he change his game? Like the mental part of his game is the psychological. It's such a fundamental in football that if a player is scared to make that challenge, well, a step of his game is off. His decision making's off. He's no longer playing in those strides that he's so comfortable in. That was prior. You know what I mean? Prior to his injury, like he will adjust his game, and I fear that for Napoli fans and for himself, it might take a little impact on this game, and also like we also have to remember that once he's cleared to pay, he still has a few weeks away until he trains, gets back up to game level, is back with his team and all that stuff, right? So we're looking at maybe March. He comes back if soonest, like if earliest. Like let's be realistic here. Like we don't know how long it's going to take to heal, the procedure. They're still trying to figure out, trying to get a proper mask for him. Like there's just a lot of things. It's scary, man, because like it sounded like I saw Sharma basically tweet out that his eye socket came out, but I don't know if it was. I don't know.
An Italian journalist, I think, had tweeted that out, or the doctor for Napoli. But yeah, no, I was taking a look at Osimhen's like injury history too. Like if he's supposed to be out for the 80, 90 days that he's supposed to be out for, he's going to be missing 38 games since he's come to Napoli, which is basically a season, if not more. So he's kind of been like out for a full season, which is pretty crazy to think about. But although like what Jerry's saying does make sense with regards to like going in on challenges and stuff like that, I think obviously he's still young. Like he's 22. He's younger than me, which is crazy to believe. So like in general, I think he's still got plenty of time to kind of continue to prove his worth when he comes back. But obviously, I think he'll be out for a little bit right now.
And I think Stephen brought up a good point.
22 years old. That's even worse. Like if he was 30 years old, I think the psychological part would be much stronger. He's 20.
It seems like he's kind of found himself in Napoli. I think he's got a good crew around him though, so I think he'll be looked after with a few espressos and stuff.
No, and like I want to pick on something Jerry said where I thought he made a great point, and Steven as well, because like Jerry, when you bring up the psychological aspect of it, at the very least, I'm going to be very curious how aggressive he plays in the air when he comes back, because that's a big part of his game. And like I was commenting on that in one of our Calcio group chats with our buddy Joe Fischetti, who's a Napoli supporter, covers Napoli, Forza Napoli pod, and like I was even saying that like he's so fearless and aggressive in the air, like maybe a little bit too fearless sometimes. It's why your head is going to take some knocks when you play that aggressive with aerial challenges. And I wonder if when he returns, if it's just going to be business as usual, back to his old habits, or if he's going to be a little bit more hesitant. But it's a huge part of his game. But then I also thought Steve brought up a good point on the recovery. So a couple of things are going to come into play here. The psychological aspect will come into play as to how aggressive he is when he returns. But as far as training for the return, it is a great point you make, Steve, that like he can still keep his body fit because he can still run. So if he had like a broken leg, that would be a lot worse, because then when you're actually cleared to train again, you're basically starting your conditioning back from zero, where he can keep his conditioning. Now, I don't think there's any substitute for playing in actual matches because you can't really simulate that. So it's maybe not 100%, but he can keep his fitness to like 90, 95% before he's able to actually do contact again. So that in itself might, help him into kind of returning back close to 100% a little bit quicker. But you got to wonder if he's wearing a mask when he comes back, how's that going to affect his game? And how is his fearlessness in the air going to be affected?
Yep. No, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. So something I wanted to get you guys' take on, and then we can talk a little bit more about the Lazio Juventus match. But as far as the teams at the top of the table, near the top of the table right now, because obviously Napoli and Milan at the top, and Inter are 4 points back, and 7 points off are Atalanta. Out of the top 3 or 4 teams, Jerry, I'll start with you. Who do you feel the best about right now, right? I mean, we can keep in mind Inter's kind of uneven form. With Milan, I think people are kind of always wondering, are they going to come back down to earth at some point like they did last season? And then Napoli with some injury issues now. Which of these teams, Jerry, do you feel the best about to actually close it out and win a Scudetto?
None. If I have to, I'll say Milan, maybe. That's it.
Okay.
I'll say Milan. I'll give Milan just because they've been the most consistent in the last 2 seasons. And overall, like, aside from what Inter was able to achieve last year, the downslide, Pioli's team kind of slipped at the end in the latter part. But for the most part, I've seen this team really mature and kind of take another step under Pioli, and good on him, because a lot of people counted him out. And I wrote a piece about him for Italian Football News, like I think 2 seasons ago, where I said this was the right signing, that this is the guy who could really change it around for them. And reason why, I always go back to his time with Fiorentina and how he always took control of Astore, the passing of Astore, and he really controlled that team properly. And I think that it really helped him to understand the people's side of the game a lot, and he kind of built a lot of good relationships there. And I think that Fiorentina, the fan base itself, has a lot of respect for Pioli. I don't think they boo him when he returns. From what I know, like, he never left on bad terms. So, and that tells me a lot, right? So the team has looked really good this season, and if they crash out of Champions League, which is most likely going to happen, and I don't even think they're going to make Europa League, that they're in the driver's seat. It reminds me of Lazio 2019-20, where we should have won. I'll be honest, and I think this is going to be the same scenario for Milan, where they're gonna the driver's seat's there. It's there for the taking, and how they control it, how they seize it, is up to them now. You know what I mean? I think they got a good bench. They got some depth. This is a team that they lost Rebic. Doesn't really matter. I've seen the injury bug on this team too long now, where Tomori's out and some goddamn player comes in like Kalulu, and like, who's Kalulu? And Kalulu freaking shines.
That's the thing, Jerry, and I'm right there in lockstep with you, where I give a ton of respect to Milan, and why I do fear them. Like, I think Inter have the deepest squad. I think Napoli's best 11 is probably the best 11. But the thing that I respect so much about Milan, if I'm going to give you their advantage, is because we've seen it now in big parts of this season and last season, where they suffer so many injuries. They had a bunch of COVID troubles last year as well. And no matter who they have to rotate in, no matter how catastrophic the injuries seem to be from players in the starting 11 and big-time players, whether it's like, Teo, Ibra, pick your poison, Benacer, no matter who is out, the next man up, and the results don't go any different. Like, they still grind. And I know they just suffered their first loss of the season, so I'm not using the Fiorentina game as the example, but for the most part, no matter who goes down for Milan, because they do suffer a ton of injuries, they still tend to grind out the same results on the pitch. So there's something special going on there. And I think it probably does have a lot to do with Pioli and the continuity, because he's been there now for a while. But yeah, I give that as a big strength for Milan, because oftentimes when the other big clubs suffer important injuries, the results suffer. But for Milan, they don't seem to suffer too much.
Yeah, no. I think looking at like the top three, like you said, with the Napoli, Milan, and Inter, I think right now Napoli has their most difficult stretch. I think this is really going to play a part in their season and kind of cement themselves as if they are going to challenge for the Scudetto, or if they're going to drop off. Obviously, I think they have Lazio, they have Atalanta, Leicester, Milan, and Juventus in the next month and a half, or less than a month and a half, which is going to be very tough, especially with this most recent injury to Osimhen. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of keep up their good form that they've had this season. I know we've seen Azzurri fan Phil always saying, oh no, now it's time for Napoli to face some tough opponents, but it's really going to come down to this now. So we're going to see if they're going to be able to fare with that. With Milan, obviously they're going to be out of Champions League soon, so they're really just going to have to focus on Serie. So their main goal is going to be to win that Scudetto. And obviously, if you look at Inter, more likely than not qualify for the next round of the Champions League. Who knows how far they'll go after that, but obviously they're going to be preoccupied with a few other things. So I think right now, if we're looking at things in the long stretch, I think Milan probably has the best bet, because like we've said, we've seen how well they've been able to fare with injuries. My only thing is, how many injuries are they going to kind of pick up, and is Ibrahimovic and all those other guys going to be able to keep them afloat for as long as they did last season? I don't know if they're going to be able to have the same strength to repeat that. But obviously, it's been good to see Pioli. I'm doing well once again this year, and Milan doing good as well. So we look at Inter. Like I said, if they're able to kind of, who knows what will happen tomorrow with all the results that kind of pull in, if Sheriff's going to sneak in with that spot if they draw Shakhtar. Because I think someone tweeted out today that Inter hasn't scored against Shakhtar in like the last 3 matches or something like that.
They haven't scored on them since the Europa League semifinal.
Yeah,
2
so
years
who
ago.
knows? Crazier things have happened, but obviously I like what Inter is doing. I know they got Inzaghi in there with a 3-5-2, and obviously he's transitioned, I think, fairly well. But you guys will start to see some of the things that we started to see with Lazio, whereby maybe some things are going to start to bother you a little bit more as the season progresses. So one of those things whereby right now I think Milan's kind of in the best boat, but obviously Napoli and Inter are very close behind.
I have Inter winning the Scudetto still. I think they're going to win it.
Who?
I think Simone Inzaghi is going to cement himself as finally as one of those managers that needs to be respected and has
I'll be
to
right back, guys.
And needs to be more recognized.
Either way, like if he does win the Scudetto, obviously like he's going to become a lot more respected manager. I think he's respected right now, but not to the level as some of the other managers. Obviously, he's a little bit younger. He's only coached Lazio. So now this big step up with Inter is a little bit different to kind of prove his worth, right? So if he does win the Scudetto, I think that really cements his name and puts his name out there. But that's a long way to go. Obviously, we've kind of given them. I think most people have kind of said Inter or Milan or Napoli are going to win the Scudetto this year, but it'll be interesting to see who actually does at the end of the year.
I want to ask you guys an opinion question, and of course I'm the Interista, and you guys are both Laziali. So if you could pick like a club or maybe 2 clubs that you wouldn't mind seeing win a Scudetto, because obviously every Italian football fan has teams that they despise, and then there are teams that they tolerate, right? So if there was a club or 2 you wouldn't mind seeing a Scudetto, I'll give you guys mine. Obviously, every time Juventus wins a Scudetto, a part of me dies. I never want to see that again as long as I live. I don't despise Milan as much as I despise Juve, but there's obviously the city rivalry, and Milan Twitter are a very loud, very large bunch. Milan Twitter is gigantic, and just to see them all happy, it would kill me. So obviously not Juve, not Milan. I think I'm in the same boat with Jerry. Steve may feel the same way. I cannot stand Gasperini, so I don't. I know Atalanta are a team that, like a lot of the impartials will say, oh yeah, that's a fun team and they never win. I'd like to see them win. I would not like to see them win. Now, part of me wouldn't mind seeing Napoli win. Part of me would be annoyed because obviously, like if Napoli won a Scudetto, which hasn't happened since Maradona, I think it'd be a pretty cool story, and I'd be happy, Jerry, for our buddy Joe. And for our buddy Johnny, even though he's half Napoli, half Roma, which is kind of ridiculous. But then I would also have to deal with the Phil Twitter rants and the Sansone Twitter rants if Napoli won a Scudetto. So I'm a little bit torn.
That would be a funny day if that were to happen. I'd like to see their rant of tweets. They'd have to go live or something as well together.
Oh, they would. I'm sure they would. So honestly, and I'm not just saying this because I'm with the 2 of you guys. Lazio are, and I'm just talking about realistic teams who could win it. Obviously, no,
Lazio's not in it.
What's that?
Lazio's not realistic.
Well, I don't even mean this year. I just mean in general. If Lazio won a Scudetto, you wouldn't be shocked as compared to if like Palermo won a Scudetto, right? I mean,
but if Lazio won a Scudetto, I don't know what I would do, man. Like I seriously I will have to think something crazy to do because how cheap our owner is, to be honest.
I would go up to Canada and I'd party with you guys.
I don't know, man.
We'd fly you down.
I don't know. If the only thing that convinced me that gives me a slight hope that Lazio can win a Scudetto anytime soon is the fact that they want long term. So that gives me some hope that Latito's considering to buy players maybe to kind of create a project to win, and the fact that we actually got a sponsor and a shirt sponsor coming soon, which is even more crazier. But I mean, like a bigger one, an upgrade over Macron, which is like, I don't know what's going on with Lazio. The days are starting to turn around. If I had to choose,
going Nike,
can't be
Atalanta. We got Emporio Armani, and then we got we got us going at Mizuno.
Fucking Kappa. Mizuno, yeah, exactly, Mizuno.
Does Emporio Armani make shirts for anybody else? Like I don't know if I've seen
I don't
them.
think so. Not that I'm aware of, at least. That was kind of a big surprise when
yeah.
they announced that. But big flex, that is for sure.
So Jerry,
Hey, at the end of the day,
Jerry, we know you're an undercover
oh,
Interista. So is Inter your answer? Like, which team do you not mind seeing win? I know it's not Roma.
it'll be Inter for sure because Simone Inzaghi. I would love to see him win a Scudetto. I don't care that he left Lazio. I don't buy the reports of how he left. It doesn't bother me because I need to hear from Inzaghi's mouth of how it went down. You know what I mean? Lotito's lied so many times. The guy freaking bullshit the COVID-19 cases, okay? At the end of the day, I don't trust Lotito and I don't trust his word. So I trust Inzaghi much more than I would trust Lotito right now. I think people are forgetting that. Like a lot of Lazio fans are like, "Oh, Inzaghi lied to us," and blah blah blah. And it's like, let's just remember who Lotito is too. So don't take your foot off the gas there. Atalanta, no, absolutely not. Milan, no, because if I wouldn't mind Inter winning it, that would be so stupid for me to even say Milan because it's just would make no sense, to be honest. Napoli, I wouldn't mind Napoli for one reason because Cheeto's from is Napolitan, so
That's a
I
good
always
shout.
had like a soft spot. I always had a soft spot for Napoli because of Cheeto. So I
Yeah.
respect the fact that where he's from, and so I have like this little soft spot for Napoli. Who else is there that's in the running? Is there a team named Roma? No, I'm not
There
in the running.
is. I mean, I figure you wouldn't want to see Mourinho win another Scudetto. How fun
I
would
think
that
they have
be?
just about the same probability of winning the Scudetto as Salernitana at this point.
Oh,
So,
you're breaking out.
Yeah.
oh, what? Like cut out there?
No, I could hear him fine.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
it's
Jerry.
just
I think
Jerry.
maybe you're breaking up.
Yeah, I think it
I
is.
think Jerry's breaking up.
He's breaking up. I said Roma, and he had to go.
Is it me?
Yeah,
I think it's you. Yeah. Now you're a little bit
Was I
blurry.
breaking out? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, because
oh,
I could hear him fine.
I can see you guys.
Can you hear me?
Fuck.
Ooh.
Oh, for fuck's
Disconnect
sakes.
and reconnect.
it's funny because we can hear him. He just can't hear us, I guess.
Fuck.
Now he's just cursed.
Fuck. For fuck's sakes. Am I back?
Yeah, you've been there all along. Are you there?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm here. I see you guys. What the fuck is going
I
on
see you
here?
I think you just had some lag.
It was
I think
loading
you're
down
back.
before.
Oh.
I think I am.
What about you, Steve? Which clubs would you not mind see win?
I was starting to think of another question. I was like, what team, if you were like to rank the opposite way, which one would you hate to see win the most? Out of like, I was thinking like with the Roma, Juventus, like that's where it gets a little bit more tricky. But I think apart from Lazio obviously winning, I think I'd probably say Napoli. Inter for the same reason as Jerry had mentioned. Like obviously I don't have too many close ties. I know that Inter always steals our players, and then they always say they're going to win something and never do. So you know what? Maybe with Inzaghi it'll finally pay off. Yeah, you know, Candreva,
Oh, hold on.
Debray.
Inter doesn't steal our player. I'm not defending Inter. If you really look at the track record, a free transfer is not stealing a player though. Like
Oh no, I
Stefan
mean
De
steal
Vrij
our
leaving.
players as in they just
true.
take all of our players at the end of the day after all because they all want to go win trophies at Inter, but that didn't happen until recently. I think De Vrij was like the first one.
Yeah.
So you know, good for him. So maybe it'll happen again this year. But apart from then, I think Napoli. I've always had kind of a maybe it's the light blue color with them. Obviously the city. I've been there, so I think Napoli probably be the top one, and then Inter second. I guess I could say.
So yeah, but so like you said, I want to pick up on what you said about the worst would be, and you know what? I want to explain myself so you don't think I'm contradicting myself because I did mention a few minutes ago that you know I hate Juve more than I could ever hate Milan, but the thing is, like, it's been so long since Milan has won something. And I just know what the celebration would be like, and I understand how I think I know how it would feel because when Inter were celebrating their Scudetto back in May, I saw how annoyed the Milanisti got. And like I know if the shoe were on the other foot, it would feel the same way, right? Because all the Inter supporters were having their spaces on Twitter where they were partying, and the Milanisti were all miserable. And if the shoe was on the other foot, the Interisti would be miserable, because Inter broke a very long Scudetto drought. Milan, if they were to win it this year, Milan have the same Scudetto drought as long as the one that Inter had that they just broke. And so so as crazy as it may sound, because obviously like Juve have done so much winning of Scudetti, if Milan were to win one like this year or next year, that it would be, from my perspective, the celebrations would be very obnoxious. So I think I might have to go with them, and then Juve are a very close second.
Interesting. Yeah. No, obviously I think Roma's first for us, Jerry. But then second, I honestly think it would have to be Juventus again. Like, growing up, obviously, like I'm only 23, so I was used to just seeing Juventus win every single year, and that was just bothersome. So I don't want to see them going on another Scudetto run for a very long time.
I hate Juventus.
I'd honestly prefer Inter Milan to win it for the next like 10 years than see Juventus lift one again. So
I would choose Atalanta over Juventus or Roma.
Really?
Yeah, I would. I don't care, man. I'd rather see Gasperini take his trophy and my banter's done. I can't banter him on that side.
You know what would be even worse, and I don't see it happening anytime soon. Juventus winning Champions League would be worse, right? Because they've won so many Scudetti, and we can still banter them for never winning the Champions League. I mean, they've won 2, but back in the day, that if Juve were to win a Champions League, that would be way worse.
Oh yeah, at least with Atalanta, I can say the fact that Gasperini doesn't play dinosaur ball. So on that angle, that's how I'll respect him. I'll respect him as a manager for what he's tactically and the game itself, but as a person, individual, can't, man. That's just a whole different ball game. But hey, I just hope it's not Juventus again, because even though Juventus are back like so much points, don't ever count them out. Yeah. Don't ever count them out. This team can all of a sudden just, who knows what they do in the transfer market. Maybe they do bring in like some players, like they got the money to do it. So, well, they don't, but they do, right? So
just like this, we'll have an inflow of cash. So yeah. With Agnelli.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Jerry.
I want to ask Steven a question, actually. So you know how earlier in the show you said that Chelsea was never Inter was never going to turn down $120 million for Romelu Lukaku.
Yeah.
Do you think that the time has come for Savic this summer and Latito takes the offer, or does he hold out and wait another year until he decides to sell him? Like,
I think it's always been the same case. I think he's got that certain cash, that number in mind, and if that number is set, I think they have an agreement whereby it was kind of like that Grealish deal when the Aston Villa manager, he was the president, came out and said, you know what, we had this deal. Didn't think anyone was ever going to match it. They did. We talked about it, and that was it, right? They already come to agreement. So I think if that's, and I believe that's currently the case right now, I think they've had a discussion and said, you know what, if that number comes into effect, obviously it might be a little bit reduced due to what's happened with COVID and stuff like that. But I think if that number is indeed hit, I think they go, okay, you know what, we've already had this discussion. We knew that the time would come eventually. And so be it. I can't see him being one of those players who forces a move out. Like, I know a lot of people are saying, you know what, it's going to be the summer. It's going to be the summer. But we've heard that for the past 3 years. I can't see him going all of a sudden, okay, you know what, now I'm gone. His agent coming out recently saying, you know what, like, no disrespect to Lazio, he's meant for a bigger club. You know what? Okay, that kind of stirs the pot a little bit and kind of goes, okay, why is he doing that? Maybe it's because he is trying to get a bigger move for his client this summer, and maybe he's low on cash, so he wants to do a little bit more deals. I don't know. But one of those things, right? Like, I don't think he's going to force a move out. I think it's going to be one of those things where if like a Real or a Barca or a PSG comes in and goes, hey, we're going to give you this 100+ deal for Milinkovic Savic, I think that's when they go, okay, yes, it's time to part ways, but to be determined, obviously.
Yeah, I don't buy into his agent, but I wonder what the price is. I think it's either 85 or 100, in between that. He won't accept less for 85. Like, that's
I'd want to see, like, in general, like, if we compare a recent midfielder who was transferred, like if Grealish is transferring for that much, I'm sorry, Milinkovic is up there as well. And that's the way it is. Yeah. I know it's Premier League tax or whatever you want to call it. But hey, you know what? Maybe Man City comes in and goes for Milinkovic-Savic, and then either way, we're getting in excess of 100 million for sure, right? So I think he's around that minimum range of 85, 90 for sure. I don't think there's question about that.
I never know what the heck a player's value actually, because there's no really fair evaluation of what
you have to base it off of
whatever someone's willing to pay.
So, it's so like vague, but I think he stays for one more year, and then the verdict is out there because he's going to hit 28 next summer. The following season, I think he'll be 28, and like he'll be in his prime, right? So, but there's the other side where he's locked up until 2024, and his agent is so dumb because his agent's so dumb because he just renewed a contract just recently.
Yeah.
And then you go off the record and talk like that. Like, why did you even sign him to a new contract then? Should just
the best part of it was to Tutto Juve. Like it wasn't even if it was like a Corriere dello Sport or like Gazzetta dello Sport. It's Tutto Juve out of all places to do, right? Ahead of the Lazio Juventus game. It was very odd to come out and say that, especially in the time too. But
that's another thing, yeah. But I'm done with that.
If he goes to Juventus, I'm sorry, I'm gonna take a break from watching football for a little bit.
I don't know if I can ever cheer for him again if he went to Juventus.
Oof, that would be tough. Man.
I don't know, man. I would really be disheartening. Like that's like going to Roma to me. Like that's kind of similar. You know what I mean? Like, but it would never happen because Lotito does not get along with Agnelli. So I think there's kind of some bad blood there. I don't know. Apparently something happened between the two sides where there was like a shady deal or something, or he kind of disrespected Lotito and he could have took it to heart. I don't remember what happened though, but
I feel a lot of people are against Lotito and for no reason, or maybe there is a reason, but I'm feeling a lot of presidents and stuff like that are against Lotito for whatever reason. So.
Because he wants to be the next politician, man. That's the problem.
Does he want to be the next Berlusconi?
Yeah, he actually does. He wants to. There was like talks he was in the running to become mayor or something like that. I don't know.
Wow.
But like, I don't think he should do it, man. Like, you don't mix politics with football. You know what I mean? You're gonna get into politics, sell your team, like outright sell your team, and don't ever come back because you're asking for trouble, man. That's my opinion, but.
Well, let me ask you guys, Steve, you can go first, and then Jerry, I'll give you the last word. Give a little review, your perspective on the Juve match. 2-0, 2 Bonucci penalty kicks. You did talk a little bit about it, Steve, where you thought that maybe a draw, but Lazio didn't deserve to win. What were some of your other takeaways from that one?
Yeah, like I think both teams, it was one of those matches where we knew we were going to be without Immobile. They also knew that was going to be the case too. I think Allegri surprised Sarri and Lazio in general, whereby that formation change with 3 at the back. Obviously, that reverted quickly after Danilo got injured. But I think overall, it was like one of those games that we didn't take advantage of what we should have been taking advantage of. Like I think the wings and the flanks, with the pace that Laziali has, with the skill that Felipe Anderson has, Zaccagni, obviously we haven't seen too much of him, but we know what he's been capable of doing with Hellas Verona. So I thought we should have used the flanks a lot more because Juventus knew we were going to try to play down the middle. That's why we put Pedro in a false 9 role, because Sarri obviously trusts him. He's been with him for a while, so we thought that he'd be the best suited player for that spot. But as I mentioned when I sent that video to IFTV afterwards, he tried to switch the attacking trident 4 times throughout the game. So it's not like he was one for saying, you know what, I'm sticking with the same formation, the exact same players, and not switching it up at all. It was more so of that, you know what, I'm going to try to do everything I can to try to get something going. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen. Whether it be, like I said, I don't think I really saw Milinkovic-Savic. Obviously, like he was there. Obviously, he was trying his best. Luis Alberto was kind of absent. That was one of those games whereby he just disappeared. Like we didn't really see him do too much. And that's where he kind of struggled. I thought it was good to see Cataldi play for as long as he did. Because I was expecting, obviously, Lucas Leiva and him going back and forth. To give Cataldi a start against Juventus really shows that Sarri is really trusting him and putting his faith in him, which was good to see. And also defending him after the game by saying, the penalty, it's one of those rigorinos, as Gasparini calls them. But overall, like I said, I thought it was going to be a really tight affair, especially coming off the international break. It kind of seems like whenever Lazio gets into a good run of form, the international break comes and then we lose the game right afterwards. And those games that, if we do win, it's very good for us, but we always lose that important game right after. kind of is becoming one of those trends now that I've kind of seen over recent years, which is unfortunate. But yeah, overall, I thought it was going to be a tight one, and obviously 2 penalties to seal the deal for Juventus. I think without those, it would have been probably a draw or maybe a 1-0 win for Juventus. But like I said, end of the day, we didn't create. We didn't do enough in the attack, whether that be because of our midfield buildup, whether that be not getting between the lines. Overall, this wasn't good enough. So we obviously lost that one.
I think that when you concede the first goal against Juventus, very few teams are able to come back at the end of the day. That's another problem, where they park 5 guys in the back, they play a low block, they suffocate the box, they defend very well, and it makes it even harder when your number 9's out of the game too, right? So the goal that we conceded first just kind of paved way for Juventus. I think that if the game is still 0-0, the field, the play of the game is much different, where Juventus will invite you to attack, right?
Yeah, because they did look unorganized. Like before the first goal, obviously that injury change kind of switched things up. But even before that, I thought Lazio was playing a lot better. And then they seemed very disorganized. Like I was trying to pick out what formation they were playing and who was marking who and kind of how they were reading and marking players. And they kind of looked lost overall. So I think when they got that penalty, they just reverted back 4-4-2, park the bus, get in there, right? And then they're just trying to sweep off the counter. And with Chiesa's pace, like that was always going to be an issue. And we saw that on the second goal, whatever Reina was doing in La La Land. But yeah.
Oh, man. Jerry, your big takeaways before we wrap it up.
Don't start Peperina again. Just please, let's start. Just. I'm sorry, man. If we're gonna criticize Thomas Strakosha for making a mistake in the Europa League and conceding a goal, let's take a minute to blame Peperina for a stupid challenge that should have been a red card. I'll be honest. That is a clear red card. It's a disgusting challenge because it's not like he's running towards him. He stops and he decides to jumping slide tackle into him like it's freaking Street Fighter 5 here. Like, what is going on here? Like, what the heck is going on here? He could have took his legs out. Seriously. As much as I agree that Locatelli should have been a red, this is a red as well. And like, it's just not needed. And he's been bad this year. I hate to break it. He has not been convincing for me. I think Strakosha has been very good in the Europa League. Every game he has played very well. He's made big saves. He's bailed out Lazio. He's looked like his old self when he plays, okay? I think this guy needs to get a string of games together, see what we have in him. I know that
his situation's odd. His situation is very odd. It's similar to, like I said with Murici, it's the same deal whereby he's out of favor, and this January he's gone. There's no question about it. Like the reason why they're not playing him and why they're they've given up on him. Like that's it. And now obviously seeing him tweet after the game, I'm done mentally. That also it adds on to the fact as well. But in general with Strakosha, we've been saying this since Inzaghi took him out of the goal and started playing Reina. Yes, Reina's better with his feet. Yes, maybe Reina has that game where he keeps us in it. But I do remember when Strakosha was on form, when he had another goalie or when he was just breaking into the starting 11 that season or 2 seasons afterwards, he played very well and he kept Lazio in a lot of games. Like I remember we were kind of comparing them with, I think at the time it was Musso and someone else who were like these Cranio, I believe. And they were like, these guys are very good. They're the most promising goalkeepers in Serie A right now. And then that season after, it's like he was like, you know what? I'm the number 1 goalie at Lazio. I have no competition. Silvio Proto is my backup. I don't really care. I'm going to be playing every single game. I think that mentality got to his head. It built up, and obviously started conceding and making a lot of silly mistakes. That's when he took him out of the net. And then I think, whatever happens behind the scenes with the contract negotiations or what is said between a player and a manager, but it made it clear this season when Sarri came in that maybe it's not him and Sarri, maybe it's him and Lotito or him and management, because there's no other reason why he's not starting. It's just as simple as that. Like Reina is at this age a backup goalie, as much as he was good in his prime, but right now he's not a starter, and Strakosha should be. So at the end of the day, even if he does make a few mistakes and he concedes like Peperina does, he should be in the goal right now. So his situation is a very peculiar one, sorry, I should say. And I think this January or this summer, he's going to be gone. Like, we need to look for another goalkeeper. It doesn't make sense to renew him. Even if we do renew him and he stays, I don't understand it. Like, his mentality is going to be gone. Even if he does get a stretch of games right now for 5-6 games, he knows that he's not wanted at the club. Or if that's the case, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. They haven't said anything otherwise, nor has he said anything too. Like, usually it's one of those things where, like, you know, Luis Alberto comes out and he says if he's unhappy, right? Chakosha's kind of sat there and been very quiet about the whole thing, just working behind the scenes, not saying too much. I think he's got something lined up afterwards whereby he knows, like, his time here has come to an end. Unfortunately, it sucks, but I think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Other takeaways from this game: we need a number 9. That's the glaring issue. No disrespect. I feel bad for Marici because it's not just that he's a bad player. It's how it got to that point where, like, we never gave. We brought this guy in, and right off the bat, we just gave up on him. Like, after a game, it was just already done. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't any consistent playing and trying to build him into the team, trying to help him at the beginning. So, as much as we like to blame him for how bad he is, and I get that there are flaws to his game, people have to remember it's there are a lot of factors to why it didn't work out for Michi as well, like COVID, injuries, starting late last season, and then a new manager came in, and that doesn't his style of play doesn't really adapt to what he is asking. I don't know what convinced him so much in the preseason, to be honest.
Well, because Tovo plays with a 4-2-3-1, so it's kind of similar to Saudi's 4-3-3. Obviously, nowhere near tactically the same, but in general, the formation is the same. Whereby they whip crosses into him, he gives those, like, kind of layoffs, holds up the ball. So, with that regard, I think a lot of us were saying this season is the season whereby, you know, if he's going to show something or if he's going to perform, this has to be it. But obviously, like you said, when you get a few minutes here or there, when you're not started over the striker who is injured and you play someone who's not a false nine in a false nine position because you, like, that's just the extent that it's got. If I was him, I would have said, you know what, I'm not going into play. Like, that's it at that point. You're going to throw me into the field with 15 minutes left and you want me to do something? How would you feel in that situation, right? Yeah, it's a tough one with him.
You could say that, but at the end of the day, he is still getting paid. So
yeah, obviously he's paid, but I mean, in general, his mentality, I should say at that point is, why do I even want to go onto the field if I know I'm gone in January, the coach doesn't want me, right? I'm not going to be playing. The mentality, I should say, not the player himself.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of guys check out under those circumstances. Listen, I want to offer a huge thanks to Stephen K. Moore, founder of the Laziali, for joining us. Let people know where they can find your work and your pod.
I want to ask him one more question. Who do you start on Thursday if Immobile is not fit to play? Because we're on this topic. Like, I'm just thinking here. Like, you said a good point. His mentality's shot, right? Yeah. But in this situation, like, we don't know if Felipe Anderson's fit or not. I know that you posted that it's questionable.
He's got a calf injury. Pedro is supposed to be out as well. He didn't train, so it's going to be difficult to say right now. Like, we'll probably find out more tomorrow ahead of the game. But let's just say everyone is there but Immobile. It's one of those games, like, if we lose this Europa League game, like, we can't clinch first. So I think this game we got to come out firing with everyone who is available to us and play our best 11. Unfortunately, right now, that's not Murici. He doesn't fit into that best 11 that we have right now. He's out of form. So unfortunately, it's going to be kind of the same front three or a mix of that front three, whether it be Zaccagni comes into the middle, Felipe Anderson, whether they swap throughout the game. Who knows, though, right now, because obviously we're kind of waiting to hear what the injury situation is going to be like. I think it's Immobile, Felipe Anderson, and Pedro are all kind of doubtful right now. And if that's the case, who knows? We might see like a Moro, Zaccagni, and Murici up front. Like, who knows what's going to happen, right? So a little too early to say.
I think you have to start Murici. I like it or not, you have to, because you also have to keep an eye open for Napoli. Do you want to risk players on Thursday when you have a game ahead? You know what I mean? I think do or die, whatever, you got to do it the best with Murici. You tell them, hey,
if players are doubtful, like if let's say Felipe Anderson, you know what, he's doubtful for this game, or he's like fighting to get back and fighting off an injury, I think obviously Murici is your best bet. You got to throw him into the mix, but we'll see what happens.
I think this is if I'm sorry, like this, you say this is your opportunity, man. Like you go in, and who knows? Maybe I think Sarri doesn't beat him up. I think that he tells him, and I think he's very supportive of him because we saw that in the summer where he kind of spoke up to the fans and didn't like how people are kind of disrespecting him, right? So I think that I think he has the backing of his manager, and I think it's a healthy relationship. I don't think it's bad compared to what maybe some people actually think. It's not the manager that has made him mentally down. It's the fans that boo him at games, the fans that disrespect him, being criticized so often in limited performances on Twitter, on social media. And I think that is the mental part of his game. That's kind of really, think about being a player for Lazio and your home crowd boos you after like 3 games. It's like, what the heck, man? I don't want to play here. You're not supposed to be booed by your fans. You're supposed, good or bad, and that's what bothers me a lot, is that a lot of people are so defensive about Immobile and he doesn't score for Italy, but it's like, oh, it's fine. It's fine that Immobile, we got to protect him. But what about how Murici scores goals for international play and he's a beast for Kosovo? But when it's Lazio, he's not as good. But right away, he gets beat. He gets killed. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a double standard. Like you can't just favor one. And I know how we are so loyal to our players. Well, it's the double standard is not right. If you're gonna treat Immobile with all that respect, look at Caicedo in his first season. We shat on him. Good for him though, because he showed that he's a strong player and could say, "Go fuck yourself. I'm gonna show you guys who's better." Like, and did it. So I respect him for that part. But like, it's just we're really fucked on Thursday. We're fucked.
Oh yes,
we're really fucked, man.
You're muted there, Alex.
Holy fuzz! Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, I was muted.
We are so fucked.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and what you guys did? Oh, I got another point, man. I got all these ideas because Steven's here, and what a joke! Jorge's in the group. This is good. Your team's a fucking joke. First off, throwing bottles at freaking Payet. Like, what the heck, man? And Lazio is not allowed to travel to Marseille because we're dangerous. Like, hold on. I'll let Steve piggyback on this. We'll end on this topic here. This is stupid, okay? I'm happy that the Lazio fans didn't go there, and I'm happy Marseille fans didn't come to Lazio because I think it would have been a freaking war. Let's just be realistic here. But the comment of whatever the government or the frick his name is there to go out and publicly say that he didn't want us because we're violent. That's where it's stupid, because you say that Lazio fans are violent, they're going to come, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And meanwhile, we go play Marseille, they're throwing shit at Luis Alberto. And then they're going to get cages and block it. Where's the common sense here? And then another game again where it has to be abandoned, closed doors now. First was Nice versus Marseille, and now Lyon versus Marseille. And now the Ligue 1 is under investigation, and there can be like a lot of consequences, and the league is in trouble now, basically. Like, but hold on, like Lazio is I would have been more happy if they just said, for personal reasons, Lazio fans are not allowed to go to Marseille, and how Italy did it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to become political, and that's where it backfires on you. And this guy looks like an idiot now. Like that, I'm done. That's it.
Steve?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with Jerry. Obviously, when we saw we were drawn with Galatasaray and Marseille, I think that everyone knew that the case should have been off the bat. They should have said, you know what, okay, whatever the case may have been, we didn't intend this draw to happen. Obviously, it just happens randomly, but because of the history of all the fans, we're just going to keep the traveling limited. They could have just said, you know what, because of COVID, we need to keep it limited. But whatever the case may have been, I think off the start, they should have said something whereby, you know what, either way, we can't have fans traveling. And then with regards to like the stuff being thrown at players, I don't know what Marseille Stadium looks like, but obviously they should obviously have protection of some sort, not just little I think there was like shields that the guys were carrying to prevent Luis Alberto from getting hit. Obviously, if I can throw a water bottle and hit a player, you know what? Maybe just ban the first 10 rows or something like that.
Yeah.
So they can't get to him, right? Like if that's gonna be the case with Ligue 1 right now, whereby they're just throwing stuff at each other, like come on, just think of a solution, right? But obviously it was ridiculous from what that's I can't remember. It was like the Minister of Sport of the Cabinet or something like that came out and said that too. It was just a random thing, and obviously he's looking like a bit of an idiot right now. So
the best part is when I went to London, I watched Chelsea versus Southampton. They prohibited me, that you cannot bring bottles into the stadium for that reason. So if you watch a game in London or anywhere in the UK, you're not allowed to bring a bottle in. And that's the reason why. And I was listening to the League On podcast today, and they said, we don't know how this person even got into the stadium with a bottle. Like they should never have been. And it's funny, if you watch the supporters, the guy who threw the bottle, one of the OM supporters actually walks over to him and punches him right in the face. Yeah, he literally punches.
I didn't see that.
Punches him in the face or slaps him really hard.
Damn.
He's like, you idiot. Yeah, the fans were really mad at him.
Yeah.
Like it was really bad.
Yeah, because the collective punishments, like if like it only sometimes takes one fan to really screw up and get everybody in trouble. Yep. So it makes sense. But listen, Steve, we can't thank you enough for taking some time. Let people know where they can find your great work with everything you do with the Laziali and your pod as well.
Yeah, no. So at the handle here at S_K_More is my personal account. And then the @the_Laziali on Twitter, and the Laziali.com is where all of our Lazio news comes out, and our Lazio features by Jerry himself. So where all of that's happening.
Jerry, you writing this week? What have you been up to?
I got a match preview for Thursday's game. I got to submit right after this, actually, for Laziali. And a few interviews I wrote for the site. One with Kelly. I need to release Shavato for women's.
She's awesome.
Lazio women's. Yeah, trying to help her get her promoted. And
well, you said Lazio women's. You mean Napoli women's?
Napoli's women's. Sorry. She gave us a good take on the 4-3 loss for Lazio. And what else? I got a few pieces I've been writing. One on Felipe Anderson and Cherby. I have so much stuff in the backlog. I always forget. Yeah,
dude. When you write all those stories, man, publish. I don't know why you would save stuff and don't put it out.
See, I released like 6 last week, man, and here I am saying that I'm gonna cut back.
You'll never cut back.
Never cut back.
You'll never cut back. You can say it all. And I'm the same way, dude. Like sometimes, I do sometimes I do 3 or 4 different streams and shows per day on various different, some of you watching this probably have no fucking idea the American sports I cover. And I'm always like, yeah, I'm going to cut back. I'm not going to do many streams this week. And 4 tomorrow. Here we go.
Yeah, so but that's your job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I forget that I treat this like my job sometimes.
You do. No, you honestly do. And honestly, I sometimes forget that Jerry has a day job because he takes the podcasting and the writing so seriously. If this wasn't and this specific show is a passion project, but the other stuff that I do, if I didn't do that for a living, then I probably wouldn't be doing any of it.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to say no, but I'm too nice. That's my problem, I guess. I don't know.
You're a nice fella.
Well, all right. Thank you very much, guys, for having me on. As
you.
Per usual. Good to see you guys both and speak with you.
Yeah, we will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection.